but also aims to raise awareness and encourage actions towards preventing occupational accidents and diseases. So we are honored to have you all join today uh, with us for this webinar aimed at enhancing safety practices in the construction sector. In today's session, we are privileged to have Ms. Ashwati Ashokan Srilata, the Facility Manager at Uni UAE, as our esteemed panelist. Ms. Ashwati brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table with impressive qualifications and a distinguished career in the field. Ms. Ashwati holds a BTech in Civil Engineering and MTech in Structural Engineering and an MSc in Construction Project Management from UK. With her extensive background in civil engineering and expertise in construction, she is uniquely positioned to lead today's discussion on quality, health, safety, and environment solutions for construction industry. Her practical insights and experts will undoubtedly provide us with valuable guidance. So we look forward to an enlightening and engaging discussion that will contribute to fostering a safer working environment in construction industry. Over to you, Ms. Ashwati.
Thank you, Ms. Krishnapriya. A warm welcome to each and every one of you, as I really don't know your background. Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
You can increase your voice audio.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, is it audible now?
Yeah, wait.
Okay, just a little second. Okay. One sec. Okay, welcome each and every one of you. Unfortunately, I can't see any of your faces. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, in whichever part of the world you are. My name is Ms. Ashwati. I'll be giving you a small lecture or briefing you about what is quality, health, and safety with environment. What are the solutions? How you get involved with the safety. So let's start with Okay, so let's start with an overview of integrated management system. So what is integrated management system? Basically, integrated management system, when you speak about safety, safety is just not about health and safety. If you fall or trip, many people think that if you just have an accident or meet with an accident, that's what is basically known as health and safety. No, health and safety is beyond just drift and accident and all those things. So health and safety is actually related to quality management, environment, as well as what you know about the occupational health and safety. So today we are working on with how this health and safety is related to quality management system, environment management system, and occupational health and safety. So basically, integrated management system is nothing but an amalgamation of quality management system, environment management system, and occupational health and safety. So let's briefly look into what is quality management system, environment management system, and occupational health and safety in detail. Okay, so let's see what all are the relationships. So when we speak or in the industry, we basically have different policies and procedures. We always make sure that all the standards are met. So in the case of quality management, we have a standard of ISO 9001 2015. And in the case of environmental management, we have ISO 14001. And in the case of occupational health and safety management, which is OSS, is ISO 45001. So let's see each and every policies in detail, how we are planning to do the work, how these policies are implemented in the industry. So the first one is IMS. So in the case of integrated management system, as I've already told you, quality, health and safety, and environment. Let's see what each and every policies and procedures intention is and what is their outcome. So when it comes to the ISO 9001 2015, the business requirement is nothing but how we relate the standards and procedures with the customer. So the customer's requirement has to be in line with the regulations and policies of what ISO 9001 2015. So what will be the result? How will you measure it? Basically, the customer satisfaction. So at the end of the day, any industry, any management companies, the strategy is nothing but make sure your client is happy. Okay, so that is what ISO 9001 2015 says. You, in the case of industry, we look make sure that the construction is carried out. For example, in the case of a residential building, the construction is carried out in line to the specification which is given to the contractor. So the next one is, sorry. Okay, the next one is ISO 14001 2015. This is purely based on the environment. Okay, so why is it important? Environment regulations, as you know, so many things can be recycled, reused, and lot of waste, lot of carbon, I'm sorry, a lot of carbon uh, issues are currently having. So, based on ISO 14001 2015, we account a legislative responsibility. Each and every activity, what we do, does it literally affect the environment? How we can do with how what all of the sustainable practices which can be incorporated, how it will protect the environment. So this is what the business result is. How you protect the environment, how is it environmentally friendly. So the third one is ISO 45001 2018. This is purely based on occupational health and safety, which actually focus on what are the issues we currently face in industry. Is it how we can eliminate it? And as you know, construction sector is the most highly in if you check the journals and all those things, 80% of the most highly risk industry is construction sector. And it has a fatality rate of more than 60%, which is very high. So what can be done to improve it? Okay, so this is basically what entitles on the policies of ISO 45001 2018. Now let's have a
Ashwin,
look. Yes, please.
your voice is still low. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can be a bit louder.
Oh, just a second. My apologies. Is it audible now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Thank
All
you.
right. So now we have seen the various policies and procedures, ISO 9001 and all. How do we implement in the industry or in the construction? So basically, the quality management system, we follow a PDCA model. So when you hear about the model and all, you might feel that it's something, a huge issue or something. Nothing. It's simple. So PDCA model is how we implement in the industry. So plan, do, check, act. So let's see what are the inputs we provide in this. What are the inputs? What are the basically what are the needs and expectation of our client? Okay, from the needs and expectations of the client, we have to look into the management perspective, our company's perspective. On a company's perspective, what all is possible? What is it? So we plan accordingly based on the inputs of needs and expectation and organization. All right. And then once the plan is settled, we create the strategy. We know these issues are there. Okay. So these issues, how can we notify? For example, in the case of construction, we need to make a multi-story residential building, let's say 15-story building. The tenants want an occupancy of apartments of, let's say, 600 units of apartment in this building. Okay, how many, whether they need 2 BHK, 3 BHK, what is the quality required, what kind of materials they need, when this has to be done. Okay, what is the time span, what all are the phase, where is this particular building that has to be, the where is this particular building to be constructed. Okay, so whether this place is a confined space, is there an accessibility. So all these plans, we have to do it earlier itself, understand, strategize it. What are the safety issues involved? Okay, once a plan is implemented, once the cost is ready, okay, once we do the value, to be frank enough, once we do the value analysis, we go for the plan. So once the plan is ready, this is transferred to the operational team. So the operational team, whatever the required support is needed from the planning team, we provide the support. So once through the support and from the operation, we implement it. Okay. So once it is implemented, we analyze the performance, how, what is the problem, whether it is working well or something has to be changed. For that, we need to check. How do you check? Do an auditing, do a training. So, or we just randomly go and check. So that is basically check. So once we do the performance, we check it, we go for further improvements. What are the improvements you have? These things went right, these things went wrong. So these things, what should we do? What are the corrective measures we need to do? Then again, we act with the corrective measures. So this is a kind of cycle we produce. Basically, in order to implement an integrated management system with respect to quality, health, and safety, as well as environment, we bring all the issues together, plan, support the operational team, evaluate the performance, do the improvements, and again, vice versa. Okay? So this is the plan what we do. So why do we have to go for this integrated management system? Why can't we do it separately? Or how do we implement this integrated management system into our construction sector? Okay, for that, how do you do the plan? The planning is done by, we have the QHSE policy, which we have already discussed about ISOs. Then we have an emergency response plan, because many things, as you know, construction industry is not a highly predictive industry. We have to look on to various other certain unavoidable circumstances can come. For example, in the case of weather, if you are in European countries and all, the weather is a big issue there because winter is more. You have to have more of uh, heating uh, heating requirements, and every time it is rain there. When it comes to the Middle East, the heat is a big issue, sunburn. So you have a lot of limits in doing the work during the summer. So these kind of things, and we have to have an emergency response plan. If you have such an issue, what is a measure you are immediately taking? What happens when a sudden accident happens? Whom should you call first? Who will be doing the first aid? So these are the emergency response plans. Then we will be having, as you all know, the objectives. The objectives of what we are planning to do. What are the works? If those works has to be implemented, how are you going to measure? That is basically the key performance index, KPI. Okay. And then we have to have, how do you do this work? What is a method of statement? What is a systematic procedure, standard procedure that has to be followed? So we have manuals, standard operational procedures that is already implemented in the companies or the construction sectors. Risk assessment which we will discuss in detail, and the method of statements. So these are the policies, objectives we have. How do you do? Implement it. How to implement it? Go for inductions, trainings, brief about the toolbox talks. I really don't know how many of you have knows about toolbox talk. Toolbox talk is nothing but a weekly talk or a discussion or a meeting with your teammates who look into what are the works we are planning to do on this 1 week. What were the issues we had in the last week? What, for example, in the case of if you are working in a construction industry as a floor layer, okay, the main problem what you have as a floor layer is a dust issue. Okay, so the dust issue means you have to have a proper personal protective equipment, you have to have a mask, you have to have make sure that the floor is clean and ready, and proper risk assessment is done. Yeah. So all these things, whether the tools are correct, whether the vacuum cleaner is working. So you have to look whether there is your tools are in working condition, your environment is good, the working environment is good enough for you to start the work. You have to check what kind of risk is involved. So these kind of things, weekly once you do a toolbox talk briefing. Then the next one is record it. Make sure that everything you record it. Okay, so this is basically how you implement the plan. Now the next one is check. How do you check it? You must be having a quality or health and safety inspector. Regular quality health and safety inspections will be there, internal audits will be there, external audits will be there. You test the emergency response plan. How do you test it? You test it through trials. Then the next one is KPI review. On a monthly basis or in quarterly basis, you review the KPIs. How many issues have been brought? How many have been sorted? How many are still pending? This 10 pending issues, what are the issues? What is the achievement of that particular work? What is the achievement of that particular person or the worker who is doing it? So you continuously review the KPI. Once you do this, inspect, once you understand the various problems you are facing, you go for the corrective measures. What are the next actions you have to take? How do you prevent it? How do you revise the, if you have to correct the standard operating procedures, how to incorporate further standard operating procedures? If again you need an excess of cost or the budget is beyond the limit for the quality, you have to make sure that the management is known. You have to get the approval of management to get for a review of, make a report and submit to the management for their review. So this is how we do the integrational management system. Okay, plan, do, check, and act. Now, the next one is, let me just give you a small brief or overview about what is quality management system. Okay. Now, in the case of quality management, okay, let's see what is this ISO 9001 2015 speaking. If you look around any of the companies, they have this a good company, a decent company in a construction company, even in UK or uh, in UAE or in India, they have a corporate social responsibility, and they say it's a kind of brand for them to recognize themselves that they are a good socially responsible company, but if they have a certification of ISO 9001. So what does ISO 9001 suggest? Let's see. In the case of ISO 9001, first thing is main this one, make sure that our customer is satisfied. Okay, our customers' expectations are always satisfied. And how do you do that? Okay, so in the case of doing any particular work, we have to make sure that our team is equipped enough. So give them a proper guidance, direction, how to do it, engage with them. If at all our team members are not skilled enough, upgrade their skills. How do you empower them? Give them trainings, give them more time to learn anything, go for a rotation of work. So make sure that you are valuing your people, recognizing them, appreciating them, so that it gives them a motivation to do work more or gives them a self satisfaction to be with us. And the next one is, always focus on the process. Where did you went wrong? This was done like this as per the standard procedure, we are following it, but at the end this went wrong. Where did it went wrong? Is it the procedure that has gone wrong, or for is it the diagnosing that went wrong, or is that a material issue, or is that because a health and safety issue has come? Okay, so understand the procedure, find out where the process is a problem, and optimize, reflect, reduce the time of work, reduce the cost. Then how, as I said, in order to make to the improvement, always revisit, check what was before, how is it done now, how will you improve it. Then I've always seen that, in the case of any decisions you are looking into, please on look on with a person's perspective. Okay, you always have to work with respect to why you have come. Whenever you wanted to take a decision, make sure, let the facts speak, let the data speak. What is a problem over the, let's say, for let's take an example for facilities engineering itself. If you're doing a facilities management for residential building, every time if you're one of your client, let's say for an apartment 104, a client continuously calls, every once in a month he has 10 complaints. Okay, the same complaint, like the AC issue, an issue, AC issue, an issue. Okay, every time technician goes and check, first time he says that the AC issue is basically because of the compressor. The second time he says the duct has to be clean. The third time he says the uh, line has to be, the dripping of water is there because of the duct pipe is loose. Okay, then maybe because the AC's gas is not filled, due to which the ice is getting frozen. So in order to understand and make it do one, they are repeatedly going and doing it at a separate time. So this is actually a lot of issues are there. So how to rectify it? So you are making a decision based on the different complaints you get. Okay, so always make sure that you do a decision based on the evidence and the data is there in front of you, not based on the a particular person. Okay, then make sure that you keep a proper good relationship with the tenant, with your team. So this is what completely what ISO 9001 says. Make sure that you have an optimized, efficient team of work working for a standard, a particular standard, a good quality, so that the customer is also satisfied. Due for which health and safety is very important. Okay, so we clearly understood about I integrated management system. We understood about we've been discussing about quality management system, which is broadly discussed about what kind of model we are working on. And we just discussed about what are the client's expectation, how we have to basically make sure that the client's requirement as well as our team mates requirements are met. Okay, now overall review of an industry is being explained to you. Now, how was it related to health and safety? What are the major issues we have to focus on health and safety? This is what we will be explaining now. So in the case of health and safety management, again, how does the health and safety works? Okay, we again, from my personal experience, when we explain about health and safety, everyone, especially with the students, okay, the students, they hate health and safety because it's completely theory. Why are you, it's so boring. Why are we always, why can't we read the slides and leave? That's what always my students used to tell me when I was doing some lectures earlier. So what I've understood from the industry, I would say this health and safety is very important. Back in 90s, we had around 90% of fatality rates. Now it is just reduced to 75%. So why are we still focusing on health and safety? Because lots and lot of fatality rates are there. So many things. If you are just alert enough, if you are working, if you are cautious enough for taking care of yourself, many simple things actually can make a big change. So this is the reason health and safety is very important. Okay, so what is the main factor? How, what all you need to look onto? Make sure that there is no accidents. We don't need any accidents. Okay, and we should make sure that there is no absence due to illness. Then we have to have a physical and mental well-being. Always, all these years, I have seen many of our people are just, when we speak about health and safety in any industry, they speak about the accidents and the physical injuries. No one has ever bothered about the psychological issues and psychological industries. I mean, sorry, psychological injuries. So we work. So psychological injuries are also equally important as that of accidents or physical injuries. So what to be done? How to be done? In order for a team member or any worker to work properly, happily, his working environment should be good enough so that, and encourageable, so that the productivity of the worker can be increased. Okay, so health and safety is just not about the physical injuries what you have to work upon the illness, you have to look upon the physical and mental well-being of the people. So how do you achieve this? What is the strategy? How we are planning to work on? How do you manage it? So that is purely through risk management. Okay. So when do you start this risk management? Most of the people of in the construction industry, or 90% where I've been working with, other than UK, they think about this health and safety. The health and safety officer come into the play only during the implementation stage. That is during the construction phase. No, health and safety, method of statements, risk assessment, everything, risk assessment has to be started from the stage one of RIBA plan. No, not stage one, stage two of RIBA plan of work. What is the stage two of RIBA plan of work? The moment when you start designing the building, once your objective is clear for what reason you are constructing that building or that particular utility, you have to have an idea about the risk involved. What kind of risks are there while during the implementation, after the construction, during the maintenance, what kind of risk is involved? So each and every stage of every, from the design stage itself, the health and safety has to be considered, and you have to have a proper risk assessment and for starting any work. So that is, health and safety should be from the level 2 of RIPA plan of works. Okay, now what is HSE, Health and Safety Executive, or they are the monitoring committee. What is their responsibility? What do they do? So what do they do is they give us a proper policy, they check, they give us proper communication to make sure that they lead us as an example. Okay, if any issues has happened, let's say in the case of any accidents has happened, they cooperate, they comply the rules and regulations, they inform this has to be done. Okay, and then you plan the works before you, if you face a new issue, you understand the problem, you plan ahead, you think before you act. So this is something, again, minor things. There are places wherein, like, when you go to a building, if you get into the staircase, you can see these people, many residential buildings, you can say that that has been kept as the landing has been kept as a storage area. They keep all their cartons, waste and debris and everything. Let's say all of a sudden there's an electrical short circuit, due to which you have to the lifts will not be working at that time. Then only the emergency access is through the staircase. And how will the people move out safely? So these kind of things are certain things which we can actually prevent. It shouldn't be there at all, first of all. So uh, if you look into these things, it is very simple, and this is something completely avoidable. But is it done? No. In many of the places, it is not done. Why? Because it is not properly maintained and it is not properly monitored. So, as a new team, or as you all are the aspirants of MSc students of engineering and all, make sure that you comply the health and safety responsibility. Make sure that you make aware, because the people whom you are working with are not professionals. They are just the laborers. Okay, so they are unaware. They must be people who are very skilled, but they may not be good enough to read and write. So give them a proper awareness. This is not right. This health and safety is everyone's responsibility. Make sure that you are doing a proper risk assessment. You are clear, the place is clear enough to work. Is it secured enough, risk free to start the work? If there is any kind of risk, what are the preventive measures you have taken? So before starting the work, all these this is not a paperwork. These measures have to be put in place. Then only you have to work. Okay, so that's what you say, think before you act. Now, let's see why this health and safety is important and how it affects the industry or a company. See, basically, as I told you, if you are working very randomly with, like, I've seen many workers, they are just negligent to wear a safety shoes. They just use their bare hands to do the electrical works. They think that they are smart and they are risking their life because no one has told them that before. Okay, so as a standard company, or again, that's a huge risk for the people. It's a matter of life. And the second thing, how, as a company's perspective, the branding of the company or the standard of us is clearly reflecting on your people. So if the people is negligent, that means you're not qualified enough to do that particular work, and you are limited yourself more than a mason. The company is just a mason and not a professional company to work on, who care about their teammates. Okay, so basically it's about the moral ethics. Accidents, incidents, and ill health can cause harm to the employees' morale. Then you can get a lot of uh, legal issues. Okay, the health and safety can directly file a case against you. They can, you can have huge fines on this. So if you look into the data of UK, wherein, like, due to the health and safety issues, the improper shoring, as far as I remember, one Cotswold case was there. Cotswold case of one worker working in a confined place, and the committee and the law there has fined the committee for around like 2.3 millions, just because they were ignorant of health and safety. This has not happened recently. I think it has happened 15 years back. So yes, a huge, unbearably huge amount of fine can come to you. And these case of issues of fine, and literally your standard, it actually causes a negative impact on your company. It gives you a huge fine, which in turn affects your economy. Okay, it loses your customers confidence also, which in turn reduces the number of business you have. So we have been discussing about what is health and safety, why is it important, how it is to be done. Okay, now let's see what is a hazard, what is a risk involved. So what is a hazard? Any idea? Okay, let me explain what is an hazard. See, hazard is of different kind. Any potential injury or damage to the property or to the workplace, or the combination of everything, is a hazard. It can be a cut on your hand, it can be a bruise on your leg, or it can be a damage of uh, uh, false ceiling, or it can be a combination of everything. So, hazard is anything that causes an injury or a harm to the people or the tenants, is basically known as hazard. So it can be broadly classified into different categories. One is physical hazard. Basically, you're moving the parts, height, noise, biological viruses, as you know, COVID, you know about Nipah, many kinds of viruses, and you have chemical spillage, paint, asbestos, or any other kind of thinner, these kind of things. Then ergonomic, it's basically improper workstation. You are not given a proper height, you're not sitting in a uh, proper workspace wherein, like, according to the HSE rules and regulation, each and every employee, if he's sitting in a workstation, he has to have at least a 1 meter square area for his own purpose of relaxed sitting. Whether the chair is good enough. When you're using a laptop, make sure that the screen is exactly on, right straight to your eyes. You're not bending yourself so that the spine is not affected. So these kind of things comes under the ergonomic part. As I've already told you, psychological effects in construction industry, it's quite common. Okay, we are trying to become very polished and professional, but mind you, any part of the world you go for in the construction industry, we are still in the barbaric period, to be frank enough. Not even 19th century. The people are being abused. The people they just shout to each other. They don't understand each other. You have to be very commander. So then the supervisor exploits the workers. The site engineer exploits the uh, supervisor. The project engineer exploits the site engineer, which is quite common. And the main thing, what you see is, today, if you have been appraised, you've been praised for what you have done in construction industry, next day, no one remembers it. It's forgotten. And you will be getting a hell lot of abuses. Okay. So stress, bullying, all these things quite common in construction industry, because we have a tight schedule. We have to make sure all the works has to be happened. But as I said earlier, this is how it is. But that doesn't mean that you aspirants and the things should be the same as it is now. It can be changed. Go further, understand the situation, make sure you do it on a right place. Speak politely, professionally. If it is not done, go like give a memo. Make sure a warning is given. Every time you don't need to shout and fight and do the works. So, stress bullying is again a major psychological issue. So, in England, you get stress leaves, as because again you are entitled to give sick leave if you are completely stressed. But in Middle East, I fear whether you have, and I literally fear if it is there in other Asian countries also. So these are the various hazards involved. Now, what is a risk? Now, let's explain further about risk. So each and every, like, as I told you, what is the chance of that hazard to take place? Or what is the frequency to how many times it takes place? Okay, so that chance is basically the likelihood. Is there a high chance to do it? For example, if the same way we speak about the weather forecast, is there a high chance for a thunder rainstorm happening? Or is it a moderate chance? Or is it a minimalistic, like, no, small chance to do it? So similarly, we have high risk, medium risk, low risk. So what are the high risk works? The high risk works are like working on a elevated platform, like rope and all you are working. And if you are working in a play, like, if you are working with anything under water in a confined space, those are high risk. So what is medium risk? The medium risk involved is like you're working well, but with a proper platform, straight work, everything is a medium risk. Low risk, Cleanliness, you actually don't have cleaning work, you actually don't have much risk involved in it, other than putting a gloves and make sure that the chemicals what you are using for the cleaning agent what you are using is not skin irritative. So those kind of things are low risk. Okay, so in order to identify what all are high risk activities, what all are low risk activities, what all are medium risk activities, you need to have a proper risk assessment. Okay, identify identify what all are the issues, classify whether it is high or medium, then understand the frequency, how many times it is happening, what are the control measures you take. For example, again, we we always wanted to prevent the accidents, we always wanted to have zero risk, but each and every activity has risk involved. Okay, there is no in ideal cases there is no zero risk, there is a risk involved. So, and in the ideal cases it there is no completely prevention. Some can happen, accidents can occur. There are unavoidable circumstances. In that case, what do? You have to have control measures. The best example I could give you is in the case of construction. One good example is pest control. Okay. In the case of pest control, you never say pest prevention. Why? Pest is a repeated procedure. Pest is always there. The lifespan of a German cockroach is just 7 days. Snakes, venomous snakes, and all. If it is an open space area, you can't stop it, it will be there. So, how do you control it? It is a process of regular maintenance. You have to do it, it will happen. You have to make sure that it is controlled. So, that is basically other to the control measures. You have to make sure that you clearly have a control measure. So I know I've been continuously speaking for a long time. You must all be bored. So let's go for a quiz based on what we have been discussing all this time. So, what is the first step in ensuring the safety in a civil engineering project? So, I have different options given to you. Conduct a risk assessment before starting the work of the project, implement the safety measures halfway, waiting for the accidents to occur before taking any safety measures, and rely solely only on personal protective equipment in order to prevent accidents.
So we
So,
request all our participants to put your answers in the chat box. So we repeat the question again. What is the first step in ensuring safety in civil engineering project? First option is conducting the risk assessment before starting the project. Second option B is the implementing safety measures halfway through the project. C is waiting for accidents to occur before taking safety precautions. D is rely solely on personal protective equipment to prevent accidents. Especially, we can see that many of participants are putting their answers in the chat box, and most of them are opting for the option A, conducting the risk assessment before starting the project.
wonderful, very good. So I think I really don't know from which background you guys are coming. So I would take it as a personal comment that you all are listening to me.
Yes, all are
All right.
listening and they are putting comments in each of
Okay.
the questions.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know about that. So let's go for the next question again. If the previous question one is done, which is the most effective way to ensure safety in construction? Again, you have four choices here. One is relying solely on the safety regulations and guideline, conducting safety inspection only after the project is completed, incorporating safety on the project design and planning stages, incorporating potential safety hazards to save time and money. So you can choose. It's a bit tricky question. So yeah, you can give two answers if you want.
Yeah. Dear participants, you can put your option in the chat box. We have four options. I hope the question is visible to all our participants. The question is, which is the most effective way to ensure safety in construction? Okay, we are getting answers, Ms. Ashwati. The option three, most of them are going with the option three, incorporating safety on project design and planning stages.
Very good. So basically, the answer is incorporating safety on the project design and planning stages itself. That's where you have to start, and it's the most effective way to ensure the safety in the construction. So I think how many answers did we get? Like how many hands, if I may know?
Uh, we have a many of our participants have responded in the chat box. Uh,
Roughly, because I can see around 286 participants, so at least 100.
uh, the number of participants we are asking,
No, 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 no. The response
participants,
from the
because
participants.
that we cannot count actually right now because it's a chat box which is.
Okay. All right, no worries. I just wanted to know the response factor because I just know whether they're still there or is left. Okay. Uh, Before starting the next of this one, I just wanted to ask, am I my pace of presentation is okay? My pace of lecture is okay? Am I a bit quick or do I need to slow down? Is there any comments on that?
I think you can go ahead,
Okay.
Sashi.
All right.
It's okay.
Thank
If
you.
people are responding that it's okay. You're doing great.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. Thank you to know about that. All right. So let's see the importance of health and safety. This is basically like I'm not speaking immensely about what are every health and safety is practically impossible for me to explain here. So what I'm doing here is I've just identified few important stuffs for a general awareness and which is usually happening in the industry, and we will discuss further on that, and then we will get into the environment part. So let's see the first major issues we always have, which is a high hazard one, is basically the fire triangle. So fire is a major issue in the construction industry. It can be because of short circuit, or it can be because of many reasons. So how can we stop it? How does this fire occur? Definitely the fire occurs because of there should be a kind of ignitions in presence of oxygen and fuel. And this thing, how does it occur? Only if 16% of oxygen is present in the ignition, then only that fire occur. And it should be like, highly explosive. So what are the fuel which is needed? It can be solids like wood, plastic, paper. Gases like, petrol, gas, acetylene, poisonous gases. Then liquids, you have kerosene, you have varnish, turpentine, paints, which is generally used in construction. And if the heat is quite high, especially in the Middle East and all, if the heat is quite high, the ignition can take place immediately, even for the paper, because the temperature intensity, high intensity heat can cause ignition. So how the ignition comes? It's basically because of the sparks from the electrical wires, friction, hot surfaces, open flame, anything. So how do you, what do you have to do if there is a fire is there? Okay, this is something everyone knows it, but I'm just telling you because when we conduct a drill now, also when we conduct a drill for a fire alarm and all, the people just directly go to the lift, switch on the lift to go immediately, or they try to become very generous to help their fellow mates, and they try to make act like they are supporting and making themselves big and all. So to be frank enough, please don't do all those things. It's purely if there is a hazard fire, just run. Run means just make sure that you walk briskly, switch on, alert everyone that there is a fire. So pull the alarm first. Wherever you see the exit, just exit the building to the nearest safe area where they've already kept a board showing that, okay, this is an assembly point. Go immediately to the assembly point. You have to use only the fire extinguisher if you are trained to do it. Otherwise, just walk out immediately. Because in the case of The doors, what we use in the buildings and all, are at least 60 minutes fire rated doors. That is the requirement of municipality or the standards which is set. Okay, BS standards or Indian standards or UAE, they have, it's purely based at you have to have a 60 minutes fire rated door. That 60 minutes fire rated door is basically for you to escape. Okay, so if you know how to use a fire extinguisher, use it. Otherwise, just leave it. So there is again, if you are really confident, then do it. Okay, do not use a lift, go with the stairs. Okay, and if you are safe, okay, then only assist the differentially able people or anyone, any people who needs help. So first, make sure that you are safe enough to save others. Okay. So this is how we actually have to respond if there is a fire. Now, working at height. Okay. So working at height is one of the major, when you look into the, again, the records, or if you look into the data, if you look into the journals, you see that 70% of the accidents occurred is mainly because of working at height. Again, you expect that the working at height is like, cleaning the facade, like, standing elevated on the ropes. No, at a height of 15 meters, 25 meters, 30 meters. No, it is purely not the case. The most fatality rates are coming from working at height, falling off from a height at just 1 meter, 1.5, maximum 1.5 meters. And workers are severely injured. So why is it like that? So you have to make sure that it has to be proper precautions has to be done, and we work accordingly, thinking in our mind that safety is ensured. So what are the hazards involved? Damaged ladders, no proper barricades. I've seen in many places, if the people dig a pit, they dig a pit, they don't keep a proper barricade, they don't keep a signage saying that uh, warning signal, work on progress. I have never seen in India, I've hardly seen in Middle East, I've never seen in African countries, and yeah, I've seen in European countries, yes. So falling objects from the scaffold, so that means no proper preventive measures are given from, or no nets has been put. Proper nets has been put, even if something is fallen down from upper floor, that has been taken with the help of net, nothing. Incompetent staff. Again, this is not their problem, incompetent staff. It's basically the system is not proper. If the if you go to the Asian countries and all, the workers and laborers they are completely illiterate, and they come for to earn their living, a daily living. But so you can't complain that they are unqualified and incompetent, because the system is not. Whereas if you go to England, you can see that anyone who work in the construction industry has to have a CBT test. That is, they have to have a basic health and safety uh, course. They have to pass a test in order to start working in the construction industry, which I've not seen anywhere else, which is again a system issue. Okay, so we have these things are happening mainly because of the incompetent staffs using mobile elevated work platforms and all those things. How do you control it? Try to eliminate wherever it is possible. Okay, first time the workers will be negligent, they are ignorant, they don't want to listen. Keep on saying, implement, make sure that the action is done, you penalize them, give them the warning. So it is a gradual process, but over the time things could become better. Make sure that you have a safe system of work, you have an equipment selection correctly in accordance with the health and safety, you do a periodic inspection, like pat test. Okay, and then you have trained personnel to train them. You give them a proper induction before starting the work, tell them these are the issues you have, this is what you need to do, make them aware. Make sure that you give proper PPE, that is personal protective equipment. Now, what are the risks involved? Falling from height results in fatalities. You may die, you may be bedridden for your whole life, or you have a severe spine issue. Again, let me just take a flooring example. See, a carpenter or a floor layer, he is being paid very high in European countries because, see, their charges high. What they do is they fit a carpet and they use their knee to hit it hard. Okay, so they start their work at a very young age, at a 15 or 16 and 17, and by the age of 20, 30, maximum 30, they have a lot of kneecap issue. They can't work properly and they are not fit to work further. Okay, so these kind of issues has to be addressed. So what can be done then? If there is a property damage due to the work involved, so these are the risk involved. Now, ladder safety, how to work efficiently. You might feel it quite funny when I show you these things, but trust me, I have seen several places now also, uh, that the people are not using their ladders properly. See, most of the people, you are not allowed to work exactly keeping your feet on top, highest elevated, uh, on top of the ladder. You should be working at least 3 4 steps beneath the top of the ladder. Okay, make sure that when you drill a system, it's directly straight. You're not inclining yourself or you're not bending yourself, which actually imbalances your ladder, and there are high chances for you to fall. Okay, make sure that you're keeping your paint very, you have a paint stand next to you so that you can easily paint it. Change it if you want to. Just focus on one segmented area. If you have to expand yourself or bend yourself, just replace your ladder. So these things, you feel it's quite adventurous. Unfortunately, it is not adventurous, it is just causing harm to you, to your health. At a very young age, you will not realize, but maybe after mid 30s and mid 40s, you literally got to regret all those things. So these are small things which you can adapt on your day-to-day routine and explain to them. Once this become a practice and a habit, then it will be good. There will be hardly any issues. Okay, so now let's take, when we are speaking about the working at heights, we spoke about ladders. Now let's speak about scaffolding. When it comes to the scaffolding, again, we put the scaffolding for where? Facades. We put the scaffolding to make sure that when we apply concreting and all those things, we need scaffolding. So make sure that only the trained persons erect it, dismantle it, alter it, where you check the tag whether all these things are checked. Okay, it is inspected, ready to use. There is hardly any corrosion present in it. It is tight, it is not loose. Make sure that you have a proper method of statement or a standard operation procedure to work on it. You have already conducted a risk assessment. Okay, take care, be aware that you are not dropping off any tools. If at all you're dropping off tools, then there is a net or there is other precaution measures so that it will not fall exactly down to the platform. And please do not overload the platform. Take only the required tools which is needed. Do not overreach or overstretch yourself. Climbing up outside of the tower is not allowed. Use only the ladder provided. Sorry. So make sure you do it safely. Now the next one is mobile elevated working platforms. So this is what is mobile elevated working platform. This is basically used to clean the facades, or you can basically use this for checking the structural stability of your facades. So basically, it is used for external purposes. So how do you make sure that it is safe for our workers to work? It is not work. It is not placed on a confined area. The ground conditions are good enough. It is firm and level and straight. It is the outriggers. That is the wheel is lifted up and it is supported by four shafts, and you have kept a guardrail to make sure with the toe board signage showing that the work is on progress. You have preventive measures to show that the platform barrier of the area around the platform, that is a specified space, is given. Make sure you are not working at a high wind, and handling materials are clearly distributed. Check whether it's sufficient, only required materials are kept. So basically, whatever the methods of statements we are saying, it's almost the same. The procedure is the same. All you need to do is identify, make sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're not making a mess around. That's the actual word to be said. Please don't create a mess around. So if you have any nearby hazards, make sure that you do not operate this mobile elevated work platform. Okay, now the next one, rope access. You can see, as you can see in the picture, you make sure that this is being done by a licensed professional. Okay, so the licensed professional means the person who is doing the cleaning is actually having a license of IRATA. So IRATA is nothing but Industrial Rope Association, Industrial Rope Access Trading Association. You are qualified with that. Whoever who is doing the rope cleaning, they have to have a level 1 certification, and they have to be supervised and monitored with a supervisor who is with accredited with a certification of IRATA level 3. No, the procedure is the same thing. Know the method of statement, risk assessment. Make sure that all the ropes are fit for the purpose. It should be tested and it should have the valid certificates. Continuously monitored by the supervisor. Make sure that you are having a periodic inspection on the equipment, accessories, reports, and defects. You're not working during the high wind time. There should be a proper emergency rescue plan if you are in work. And make sure you have suitable PPEs in order to work. So regular health and safety briefing to be done, that is a two-bird stock, has to be done for competent personals. So that's one of the things. So we looked on to fire, one hazard. Then we looked on to working at height. In working at height, we looked on to different categories. One, ladder. We looked on to mobile elevated platform, and we looked on to ropes. Okay. Now the next high hazard which is observed is electricity. Okay. So in the case of electricity, everyone knows shock, faulty equipment, no maintenance done. I can't even say lack, no maintenance done. Incorrect usage of equipment, untrained operators. Basically, they go, see, again, I can tell you, if it is a trained, skilled worker, over the diagnosing period or identifying the issue just takes fraction of second. But in order to say, there are places wherein, like, if you are looking onto a money and all, a trained skilled professional may charge high, but the time required for him to inspect and detect the issue and come up with a solution will be the fraction of time as compared by a layman. For a layman, it may take a lot of time. It may consider, like, a trial and error. Every time you go and do, it does not work. So always make sure that you are having trained professionals to work on these things, because these are high hazards. And electrical shocks, burns, fire, these kind of injuries are the risks involved in it. What are the controls? Competent person, lockout tags, safe system operation procedures. Make sure that you are checking pre-inspections. You have to check the flux, intensity of the flux, You make sure that the plug, socket, outlets, and equipments all are in working conditions. Okay, conduct a portable accessible test, because any, even in for the offices also, if you are using a laptop, they have a pat test which is written clearly, checked on, let's say, February 2024, valid till valid for 6 months. So it is uh, valid till July 2024. So make sure that the pat tests are not expired. So regular monitoring, basically, it's not a Herculean task, and you are not innovating anything new. And sorry, not innovating. We are not inventing anything new. We are basically doing simple procedure. We're just repeating the things. We are just monitoring the things. We are just reviewing the things. We are just speaking and making them aware so that this becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit, then the health and safety issues gets minimized. So that's what we need to do. What kind of faulty equipment is it? Whether it was switched off, where if that has to be changed, or whether it can be replaced, is it labeled and quarantined? Make sure that you report to the supervisor these things. Then the next main thing, poor housekeeping. I literally wanted to ask you a very good question. If you are in the industry, I believe many of you are working in the industry. How many of you see your building or the infrastructure, construction, what you are doing is very clean, if I may ask? Miss Krishnapriya, is that okay if I can ask such a question now?
Yeah, you
Okay,
can see their response in the chat box.
okay.
Participants, you can respond in the chat box. Yeah, there is an answer from,
We ensure clean environment,
yes.
not usually clean. We have a checklist on every corners. Okay. Okay. So that means basically we have checklist on every corners, and okay. And again, it depends on the different countries, and we conduct surprise inspection. We have checklists on every, okay, good. Okay. So basically, many places I can see that a proper housekeeping is maintained, but many places you won't see it. It again depends upon the standard of the company. If it is just a SME, small scale medium enterprise, you don't see that standard. You don't see that kind of, like, say, a company whereas you are wherein you are just working only on the uh, house villa construction. There you won't see any kind of make sure that all the corners and all those places are clean. So this is again a main issue what we see here. So basically, they don't make sure that they clearly don't make sure that the tools have been cleaned. They don't make sure that the uh, area, once they finish the work, they clean it and they keep it tidy. They don't arrange their materials, they mess it up. Lots of waste is being dumped here and there. So these kind of things has to be sorted out. Why? Otherwise, there are a lot of hazards. Poor housekeeping is just again the people's behavior. Okay, that can be improved. For that people's behavior, the cost implication is very high. Trip hazards from trailing cables, because the cables are just lying down, then split liquids, water. Even in England, I've seen many places clearly mention that they have a respected rest area where they can drink or their or refreshments and all those things. They can have it only at that specific area. But these workers, if you walk around, you can see a lot of cans, you can see a lot of bottles kept here. They just, I can't say, they just do many ablution stuffs inside the building itself, which is stinking. This all are people's attitude. Okay, I'm not speaking about a developing country, I'm speaking about a developed country. So this is again the people's attitude. This has to be changed, otherwise we have lots of risks: lip trips, fall, injuries, property damage, and delay in work, completion of work. That is the main problem here. So what happened here? Just a second. Other significant health and safety elements. Okay, I'm just broadly speaking about other elements we have. Anything, as I said, risk assessment is very important. Make sure that you have proper PPEs. You are anything, even if you're working in hot work like welding, working with power tools, overheads, underground, excavation, confined spaces, noise, work equipment, all these are significant health and safety elements. And since we have a time constraint, I fear I can speak on everything. So maybe next time we can discuss all these things in detail. Workplace stressors. So just again, for an interactive session, could you please, we've been discussing a lot about the hazards. Could you please identify what are the hazards seen here? It's a simple photo.
Yeah, participants, you can put your answers in the chat box. Please identify the hazards from the image shown here. Let's have a quick answer.
Please find one hazard in each. There are lots of hazards actually.
As not sit, Hannah says not sitting properly.
Let it come together, then we'll discuss.
Poor housekeeping, poor arrangement of materials, sleep, secretary not sitting properly, electric, cable management. So we are getting a lot of answers.
Okay, so basically, if you can see, I know this is a dumb photo, but again, let me just tell you, we think that these things are dumb, but unfortunately, there are many people who doesn't understand these things. Okay, so here, if you see that, you can see a lady raising her leg, but it's not a problem. It's totally okay even if she raises a leg. But if you see her chair, it's just not balanced enough. She can fall down at any time. You can see the electric plug is connected, lying down here and there. You can slip, trip, and fall. You can see a person bending there and taking a lady just lifting off a lot of goods, and she can't even see. You can't even see her face. So again, this is again a damage to her spine, view, vision, and you can see a lady standing and arranging all the books in a bookshelf under the roller support chair. So, and you can see a man again looking onto the drawer with a drawer lifted up just on top of it. So all these things are hazardous enough. But again, is it a matter of time, and is it preventable? 100% yes, it is preventable. It's not unavoidable. Okay, it's totally avoidable. So these kind of things you have to identify and try to prevent these things. We are not speaking about any kind of like hazards like flood, which is not within our hand. But these kind of things, yeah, you can do it, you can manage it. It is purely preventable. So let me give you certain examples. If you think that this health and safety was unnecessary session, I can show you. These are the pictures I've taken from the online and all. You can see why this is important. See why I've been explaining all these things, how the elevator is supported, how a person is drilling, an electrician is drilling his, he doesn't have any PPE, and he is using a aluminum ladder, and he's standing under the water, high conductivity of electricity, no chance of this one. Actually, I really don't have to explain all these things, but this is what is happening everywhere. These are not people not trying to be innovative, they are just risking their life. So this is not happening in the barbaric period, this is happening now also. So this is something we are looking into it. We have all means of health and safety measures. All we need to be is be aware of what it is, how it is, and work accordingly. Okay. So how to do? Make sure that you have proper safety signages. How the safety signages are incorporated. If it is blue, means you have to adhere the rules. You must do it. If it is red, means things you shouldn't be doing. It is totally prohibited. Yellow means it's a warning. Green means it is safe to do. Okay. So this is how you provide a health and safety sign. Then what are the hazardous signs? You can see we always provide the hazardous substance signs in a diamond shape in red, showing whether it is explosive, whether it is toxic, or it is corrosive. And it clearly alert all the people what are the problems. Okay, so these are the I think all the presentation will be shared with you. So these are the hazardous substances involved. And the next one is, let's speak upon accident, incident, and near miss reporting. Okay, so here in the case of accident, let's see how do you classify it. What is near miss? What is unplanned? And what is an accident? And how do you do the occupation? So near miss is basically like, as I can give you one example. Again, it's not related to a construction. A simple one, if you a simple near miss example, what I can give you is a person walking around, tenant from the building just throwing away a dust garbage. Okay, and it's just a near miss that it didn't got thrown onto his head. Okay, so any chances of injury, you just luckily got escaped. That is actually, it has a potential to have a fatality rate or an injury. Thankfully, it didn't happen to you. Accident, which is completely unplanned. Again, let me take an example of a building wherein, like, a facade glass, all of a sudden it has fallen down, and there was a person walking around, it fall onto his head. Okay, this is again, it can be predictable, it can be unpredictable also. Okay, but this can be preventable. Then again, one more another example which I can give you. In UAE, you had a heavy rain last week. Okay, due to which the water is completely stagnant, and everything, the or lots of mosquitoes are there. There is, due to the water stagnant, there is no proper waste disposal, due to which lot of diseases has not come. We are trying to prevent it, like malaria, rabies, all those things. So how do you make sure that these things can be changed, reported? So relationship between the various types of accidents. As I said, hazards. See, you have not arranged the bricks properly. So the near miss is that that person is not, that brick didn't fall on top of it. Accident is clearly, yes, that brick is fallen on his head. Okay. So these are the relationship between the hazards, near miss accident, incident, and injury accident. Now, next thing, first aid. If any such kind of accident occurs, make sure that you contact the first aider. The first aider contact details will be available in everywhere. Assess the injury, provide the first aid required, determine the further action. Advisors, make sure that the supervisor is known, update with the supervisor. Contact the QHSE department, they will record and report it. Okay. Now, accident investigation. Any accident, see, there are high chances for people to say that they don't say, they might think it as in a kind of embarrassment, or they don't care, they just continue with their work because of the work pressure. But please make sure, they are quite afraid that if this accident has happened, which will literally affect their job and all those things. But please make sure that whatever has happened, report it. Find out what is the root cause of it. Does it cause any environmental impact? Is it a material failure? Okay, why did that has happened? Find out what is the root issue. Whether he has taken any shortcuts, is it because of the lack of understanding? Is it because he is not trained enough to do it? review it, review the process. If you want it, do the change management. Review the process, do come up with a new procedure, which is known as the change management process. Again, if it is a lack of training, provide a training. So that's how you act for an accident. This is basically the protocol what you follow for accident investigation. Now, the last one, PP, personal protective equipment. Till now, usually in any of most of the presentations, you see that everyone highlight the personal protective equipment. Here, my question is this personal protective equipment is just enough for construction or just enough to make sure that you are safe and secure? Is it just enough? It's actually no. Personal protective equipment is not a safety, completely preventable safety measure, but it gives you a minimum uh, protection. That's all, nothing more. The risk is there. For example, if you are working at heights, you will be having a 5-point PPE. What it would be? One will be your helmet, gloves, harness, safety shoes, and this one, um, your glass eye protector. Okay, so most of the companies they clearly focus on 5-point PPE. Okay, so why do you just stress on 5-point? If something fall on top of your head, it's always better to have a little more less intensity. For example, if what can I say, a tool, a player just falls on top of you. If you have a safety helmet, the intensity or the impact of injury will be less. Okay, so that is the reason we keep a mandatory 5-point PPE. Okay, PPE is not a substitute of good engineering controls or administrative control, but it is a good practice to make sure that the hazard is minimized. That's it. The hazard is minimized. Instead, it should have been in conjunction with controls to ensure the safety. So basically, PPE is just mandatory to make sure that the hazard is not controlled, the intensity is reduced, and if you want the risk to be assessed, proper engineering control and proper good work practices has to be maintained. So as I have informed you earlier, this is my last session. Last slide. From the beginning onwards, I'm just focusing on one thing, safety first. Okay. So in the case of health and safety, safety is first and it's everyone's responsibility. And now let me just give you a small brief about environmental management. Okay, since we are working in construction and since I have told you about an integrated management system and we were speaking about quality, I just give you a small brief about quality management, and I have discussed thoroughly about the health and safety, and then we have this environmental management system. Okay, so previously environment was completely ignored. Why? Because it is we had the luxury to use all the virgin materials. We was not bothered about the materials. If you have money, we can procure everything and all these things. But now we came in such a situation wherein the temperature has increased above 1.5 degree from the normal temperature for the last 10 years. The mean water sea level has increased, and all the glaciers are getting melted. So all these things clearly understood that there is an environmental impact. And if you see in the case of construction, the carbon dioxide footprint is not because of high in UV, is not because of high pollution or anything. It's because of buildings. 70% of the buildings are causing high carbon footprint. So as a responsible human being and as a responsible citizen, you have all the responsibility, and a construction professional, you have the responsibility to minimize the carbon dioxide footprint. And this is again a big topic. which we can discuss further again. And due to the lack of time, let me just explain to you one thing about the environment management system, which we focus purely on triple R. Most of you must be knowing about it: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Please don't use maximum, try to use recycled materials. Please don't use your virgin materials. Try to reuse of stuffs so that you don't have to buy. If that is not possible, recycle it. If again, and try to reduce consuming that much of material. If all these things are not possible, then only go for virgin materials. Okay, so reduce the consumption of usage of electricity, reduce the reuse maximum, like the lights, and make sure that you are reusing the old building materials with the new building materials. Make sure you are using recycled materials. For example, in the case of if you are again constructing a building, and if you're using kitchen cabinets and all those things, you can use recycled uh, uh, plywoods for using the kitchen cupboards. So make a practice of doing recycle. So this is what actually explains in environmental management system. This reused, reduce, recycle, try to bring a circular economy. Make sure that we are not wasting of the stuffs. We have a proper site waste management plan. So again, protecting environment is also everyone's job. So there are in many companies, we have this green box initiative wherein we come up with how much of carbon dioxide footprint we are reducing. For that, what measures are we going to do? How we are optimizing the energy? How we are optimizing the uh, usage of cement? What kind of admixtures were you using? Is there any alternative for cement? These kind of things we are planning and resolving, and these kind of activities comes under green box. So here ends my presentation. If you have any questions, please put forward in the chat or question and answer session. Thank you so much for listening. I had around 298 participants, and thankfully 278 participants are still listening. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to uh, have your questions, open up to any questions. And I think we have a limited time. How long do we have?
We have still time, 15 minutes time.
15 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ashwati, for that wonderful and insightful session on safety and hazards. So before we have the Q&A session, I request all our participants, if you have any questions, to put it in the Q&A box. So we'll have a small session on Uni Athena. I would like to share my screen, Ms. Ashwati.
Yes, please. So I should stop the share, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, it's done. Thank you.
So requesting all our participants to share your questions in the Q&A box. Meanwhile, we'll have a small presentation on Uni Athena. Okay. So this webinar was hosted by Uni Athena. We are a edutech service providing online education program. We offer master courses, BBA programs, and mini postgraduate and certificate courses at a flexible, affordable, and accessible way. We have more than 2 million learners with us. So with regard to the seminar webinar that we have conducted, we offer many courses, and here is a list of some of our major courses. Coming to the MBA in Construction and Safety Management, another is Master in Construction Management, and the next one is MBA in Operations and Project Management. postgraduate diploma in sustainability, environment, health, and safety management, postgraduate diploma in construction management, postgraduate certificate in environment, health, and safety management. So I have provided the links in the chat box. So if you are interested, you can check out our links, and you can also check out our website www.uniathena.com. So talking more about UniAthena, as I mentioned, UniAthena is an edutech organization offering online free learning, upskilling courses, and affordable academic degree programs in a flexible manner. We started in 2019, and UniAthena is owned by the Westward Education Group, operating since 2008 in higher education sector. Now we have almost more than 2 million learners doing various courses with us, and we have almost 10 plus partners. These are our top universities we are accredited with: the Alberta University, Marconi University, UCAM, Green American University, the CMI, the SQA, the Scottish Qualification Association, the CIQ, the FEDE, and Acacia University. Now, why UniAthena? So what makes UniAthena different when compared to other online education? One is the flexible payment. We have a flexible mode of payment that you can pay either as a fast track mode or as a flexible. As you complete one module, you can pay for the next module. And it is 100% online. Every materials, the video materials, the reading materials, everything is provided to you through online through our LMS. And it is a self-paced learning area where you can learn at your own convenient time and place, but are always assisted with a personal tutor assistance. And all our courses are globally accepted and accredited. We have a very good partnership with the best universities, and the courses are designed in a modular structure. That means that you will be doing module wise. Okay, you'll be doing one module at a time, and once you cover each module, okay, you can make the payment if you are interested in making a flexible payment, or you can also opt for fast track payment. Now, these are some testimonials from our learners. So this is Frankie, who is one of our learner, who is a project manager from Guinea. So you can read the testimonials. And we have another learner who is doing our mastering construction management with us, Marcia. He says that UniAthena will certainly elevate his career to the next level. He's currently doing as a senior site construction management manager, and thus master in construction management degree is an ideal complement to his experience and a recognized qualification. That is what he explains. So we'll be going to the Q&A section, and we can start with the Q&A session, Ashwini.
All right. I've got several questions. So just I really don't know whether I have enough time to explain each and every questions now. My humble and general apologies to if at all I have not picked up your questions. So generally, which I've seen is, can you explain what you mean by SOP, RA, and MS? So SOP is basically nothing but the standard operating procedure. RA is nothing but risk assessment. MS is nothing but method of statement. So standard operating procedures and everything comes for facilities management, because each and every small works, for example, if the what can I say? The main problem in the buildings what we face in facilities management is the seepage in walls. Okay, so how do you contain that seepage? What is the procedure that is involved? What chemicals has to be? Once you stop the presence of moisture, how do you do the painting? What kind of painting you're doing? What are the chemicals that has been used in order to make sure that this will not happen in further? So this kind of how are we tackling that particular situation. This completely will be explained in SOP, standard operating procedure. Okay. Or for example, who will do the work? How are we supposed to do? Once we get a complaint, who gets a complaint? Who will be assigning to the facilities management? And from the facilities management, how the work is done. So this is basically a statement of procedure. Risk assessment, as I've already told you, risk assessment is nothing but each and every hazard involved. How we tackle the situation, how to improve the problem, how do you identify the problem before itself? How what is the frequency in involving in it, happening in it? Is it severe? That's how we do the risk assessment. Then method of statement, each and every work, for example, in the case of excavation, how do you do the excavation? Clear off the area. Okay. Till which pit, make sure which pit you're what is the depth of the pit, make sure you are given a proper shoring so that the soil will not fall off, and the make sure the equipment is ready to work, whether it's safe to work, and all those things. So this is clearly the method of statement. So that is basically known as explain what do you mean by SOP, RAMS, ERP, emergency response plan. If any issue happens, how do you act? That is basically known as ERP. Then you have what is the difference between quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance is basically the minimum standard we offer. Or this is what, for example, let's take an example of pest control. Okay. Once we do the pest control or pest measures, we give an assurance for the tenant saying that 6 months there will be no pressure. I mean, pest. Okay, that is a quality assurance. Or a product, you say that if this work doesn't work for this time, then this is gone. Okay, this we will take it back. Then what is quality control? Quality control is basically how you are planning to work, what is the steps involved, how the quality is maintained. Okay, so that is basically known as quality control. Then the rest of the questions, if I sit and explain, I can actually give a lecture on that for 1 hour. So I'm trying to omit that because I think I need to make a presentation of that itself. So then the next question is, when should the toolbox talk to be held? Again, toolbox talk, according to the norms, it's basically once in a week, every Monday. If you're working from Sunday to Friday, every Monday morning, first thing is toolbox talk, which we explain or which we decide what has happened earlier, what all of the issues happened, how are we planning forward in this month, I mean this week, and you minute it, get it signed from the supervisor and the manager, and you have to upload all these toolbox talks on a weekly basis to the management or to the client. So that is basically uh, toolbox talk. How do we implement the risk management plan? Risk, again, let me just explain to you, risk management plan is not a different body. As I told you, when it comes to the SOP or with the method of statement, you basically analyze the risk and then you put it into procedure. Okay, so that's how we implement the risk management. Okay, so it comes under the method of statement or SOP. Then why is being stressed bad for the job? Uh, that's actually uh, yeah, it's a good question. Why the stress is bad for the job? Because let's just take how do you like working? It's not about just construction industry. If you like to do a job, then you do it in a different way. But sometimes if your manager comes and tells you this is how you need to do it, why have you not done this, and if you are being overburdened with a lot of work, and then just even if you are doing a good quality of work, your manager just comes or your supervisor just comes and tell you that you are good for nothing and you are always demotivated, do you have the confidence to do the work? You become emotionally upset, your productivity get reduced. So definitely the stress is bad for the job. Or you have to understand how to manage the stress. The stress comes over the time. But again, you can't be stress free. High stress means high pay. So it all depends. High risk means high pay. That's the reason the oil and gas industry employees get high pay. We always feel that kind of a wow factor to them because they have 1 month work, 1 month break. 1 month they just have, and they are paid hourly. Why? Because they are highly hazardous to health. They get paid for their life. Maybe they might die only by the age of 90 just because of they are consuming this poisonous gases and all. They are leaving their family. They are just working on in mid of a desert, or they're working in mid of an offshore, like, sea and all those things. They are meant to, they completely upset. They just want, it's as if like they are in a prison. So that's the reason high risk means high risk, means high money. High stress means high money. So yeah, you can't stop the stress, but you need to learn how to tackle the stress. Then what else is there? Protective gear and all these things. Okay, I would like to add that even the fire outbreak, it is important for everyone to prioritize that, which I have already uh, informed. Any worker who has received training can work at heights on a construction site regardless of formal authorization. It again depends upon the height, actually. Okay. As I told you, if you are working with the ropes and all, you have to have a certification for that. Okay, the next one is why you use of accident instead of incident. Accident is already a harmful injury has happened. Incident is a near miss chance or no injury. It's not a big thing. So that's why we say this accident and incident. How can I use it for practice? What to use for practice? I don't know. I have level 7 with 120 credits of OTHM. Remaining 60 hours will be a master's degree. This is not my question. I'm sorry. And this is again, how can one be in control? It is not just one person's work, it's everyone's responsibility. And a system should be put in place. Everyone should be aware. Everyone, you have to be repeatedly telling these things. You have to repeatedly inform. You feel that, why am I saying these things? You have to repeatedly send the memos. You have to repeatedly put the system. It is just not the paperwork. Many people think that the health and safety is just the paperwork. And when an accident happens, they really don't know what to do, how to work. So these things are a system. And when an emergency occurs, if the system is not put in places with the proper drills, again, it will be a complete chaos. Then any worker who has received training can work at height. Okay, this is said. How can we integrate quality? This is what I've explained. How can we integrate quality with HSE? So this is how I said integrated management system, which is currently being used in the industry. And this is how we are integrating, because quality environment is a part of health and safety, and that's how we work. I think I've explained almost all the majority of the questions, and someone has discussed about COSH also. That is again for the control of substance of hazardous to health. This is again substance and all those things. Again, we need one more session to explain. I have explained only periphery. I have taken only the important things. If you wanted to have an in-depth knowledge on all those things, then that means you have to go for a certified course and all those. This is basically an awareness, and this is basically to give you an idea what actually happens in industry and how we work on it. So I think I've answered almost all the questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ashwati, for that wonderful and insightful session and answering the questions of most of our learners. Dear participants, all participants will be getting a certificate of participation through your registered email within 1 week. Okay, so you can wait for the email, and you can also check out for There are more details about our courses in our website www.uniathena.com. And once again, thanking all our participants for your patient listening and cooperation with us. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And happy weekend to all. Bye bye.
Thank you. See you next time.